Welcome. We have Ms. Sarah Walker with us from KPMG in the UK and a leader of alternative finance. I just have a couple of questions about your speech. You spoke about the Brexit
Yep.
and crowdfunding. How do you think it could really be affected?
Well, it's a good question. I don't think anybody really knows how big Brexit could or may not impact crowdfunding. But what I would say is there's concerns within the community around actually, SMEs and whether their businesses will have problems, and therefore will there be investor sort of apathy and worry about their investments going into this. So I can actually see there being a spiralling potentially, depending on whether SMEs businesses start dropping because they're not trading overseas or whatever their businesses do, that default rates go up. And that could cause problems, and maybe investors start worrying and thinking maybe my assets should be placed elsewhere, because goodness knows what's going to happen with interest rates.
And you spoke about how in the UK it's mostly loan-based crowdfunding.
Yeah.
How do you think investors will be affected by a loan-based crowdfunding? What are the risks really when you invest in something like that?
Well, you've got to remember it's a loan at the end of the day, and it's not covered by any FSCS levy that the UK has, which means that if you've got a savings account, you can put an X amount in that, and it's covered by this bank levy, which means your funds protected. Investors don't have that when it comes to loan based, and they need to recognise that if a borrower doesn't repay their loans, then they may not get all their money back. Now, some platforms in the UK have set up what they call as provident funds, and that you pay a fee into those funds in certain models, and what they do is if there is a default, they pay out of that fund first, so that the investor at the end of the day still gets their money back. But I think the risk is they're not going to get their money back, and investors need to recognise that this isn't about putting money in a cash account. This is an investment at the end of the day, and it can go up as well as down.
And so, what do you think Cyprus could really learn about just starting out in a crowdfunding market?
Well, I think it's really important that you work together as a team. If you see what's happening in the UK, there's been loads of platforms that have collaborated together, lobbying to get the right regulation in place, and are still lobbying to get whether it's tax initiatives, and I know that there'll be new initiatives coming down the line, for example, around debt-based securities, etc., etc. So I think if you're collaborating together and you're lobbying and you're building awareness as a community, then I think you're more likely to succeed, rather than if you all act as individuals. A crowd is better than individuals.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. I'd like to thank you for your time.